Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Think Before You Hate podcast, where we'll discuss the latest topics on civil rights that concern the people of Chicago. I'm Alex Chavez of the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, and we're the city's civil rights agency. We work diligently to eliminate prejudice and discrimination in the city of Chicago, and we do so by enforcing the Chicago Human Rights Ordinance as well as the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. Today we have the great pleasure of speaking with Karina Ayala Bermejo, who will educate us on how the Instituto del Progreso, Instituto del Progreso Latino, supports the Latino community in Chicago. And without further ado, Karina, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
Absolutely. Now, to kick us off, I'm going to start these questions. Will you please tell me and our audience a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up? What led you to become the CEO of the Instituto del Progreso Latino?
Thank you for that question. What an enormous honor for me to share my story. I'm an immigrant. Like many immigrants here, I was born in Mexico. My parents, my mother and father were migrant farm workers, and they left everything for a better future. My dad, a third grade education, my mother went up to the sixth, and they worked the fields. We were fortunate that in their dream and their vision, we were able to adjust our status through my brother who was born in the U.S., and it just continued to evolve into my father's vision of getting to South Chicago. South Chicago was, and still is, an entry for many immigrants. We were on a mission from Salinas, California, made a small pit stop in Pilsen, and landed in South Chicago, where my father was able to get a job in the steel mill industry, and that just changed the trajectory of our lives. So the best schools, he was very proud of putting us through a solid Catholic education. All the girls went to, girls-only school, and the boys went to the seminary. And from there, it was very clear that we were here to get a better education, to obtain our títulos, as he said, our titles. Very few positions that were allowable in our family, really doctor, lawyer, educator, engineer. So we were very focused. Nun, priest, that was an option as well. And that allowed me to go to Loyola University, study in Rome, learn Italian on top of the Spanish.
Molto bene.
Sì, molto bene. They go to law school, DePaul College of Law. And that really just shaped my advocacy to be an abogada, right, an advocate for others. And then my professional career from the early starts as a Board of Education attorney, litigation attorney, led to the next job as the pro bono director for the Chicago Bar Association, dealing with access to justice issues. Then I went into city. I reached the acting commissioner of HR here under Mayor Daley's administration, and I just kept evolving, right? The job previous to this was as general counsel and for Metropolitan Family Services, and I led their Legal Services Society. So a lot prepared me for the current role, and really it was the mission that brought me to Instituto. When you read its mission, right, to be able to ensure that every immigrant, every Latino can reach their fullest potential through education, training, employment, and now legal services, like that's my life. So thank you for allowing me to share that, but I think it prepared me for exactly where I'm meant to be at this moment of my life during this current political climate.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's perfect. Now, tell us about the Instituto del Progreso Latino. What types of services and educational programs are offered, and are these services catered specifically to the Latin American community?
Excellent question. Our services are available for anyone and everyone. We are grounded in education. In fact, our deepest roots are in adult education, teaching individuals how to read and write and learn English, advancing into citizenship. We are the largest submitter of citizenship applications in the entire state. So again, grounded in that education pillar, we have two charter schools. One that's a Instituto Health Sciences Career Academy focused on STEAM, focused on sciences, that connects our students with credentials before they graduate. So many of our students are in EMR or go on to become CNAs. Our other option school is really a dynamic program for those who've dropped out of school, are coming back. They want a traditional high school education, not a GED, and we work with them really closely. And we have about 130 students together, about 900 students. And it really just speaks to our intentionality to ensure that they don't stop there, right? They go on to the sciences, or they go to post-secondary employment, and workforce development is wrapped around everything that we do. When you register the student, you enroll the whole family. We have a college of nursing that really propels our individuals from that low level to the highest RN level. And I haven't even begun to talk about the support services that we provide and the legal services, right? So essential when you have a barrier that's legal in nature to remove that obstacle as well. And again, everything that we offer from a after-school programming perspective to a Saturday class on learning English, they're all free and open to anyone.
Beautiful. That's, it's really amazing that your organization offers all these great services for basically anyone in the community. But my next question would be, what are the most urgent needs you are seeing in the Latin American immigrant community right now? Legal, financial, housing, education, health and mental health care access, or anything else?
I would say yes to all of the above. It is such a complex time to navigate for our communities. Yes, they're resilient. Yes, they're able to do anything when we meet them where they're at. But housing is an issue, right? It's an issue for everyone. It's affordable housing leads to the stability of the home. And when you have constant mobility like we do in our communities, we have over 75% STLS students, which means they're homeless, right? So trying to remove that barrier, that's where you have to start, in addition to food scarcity. Many of our families are taking advantage of our food distribution and now our food pantry, because they've told us, you can't study when you're hungry. You can't focus on anything else other than like putting food on the table for your family, because that's your responsibility. So we're dealing with removing of barriers that are at the basic level. We have case managers that help families triage their concerns, right? If it's housing, we help there. If it's insurance, we help there. SNAP, Medicaid, those are being cut, but that's the benefits that we are offering. Adding to that, mental health is such a serious concern. The U.S. Surgeon General talked about this pandemic of loneliness, belonging. Put that on top of that, fear, right? There is no secret that immigration is on the top of every headline, and it's heavy news for mixed status families, right? Everyone who is in our neighborhood knows someone, has someone that has immigration status issues. And living with that constant fear of deportation, or when I come home, is my parents going to be home for me, or are my children's going to be stuck at school? I mean, that's a constant worry. So we hear that mental health aspect on a daily. We try to address it with our students and with our families that are enrolled as participants, but we need to do more of that. And I think at the core of that is feeling a sense of belonging. When you belong, you feel less overwhelmed, less stressed, or having resources available makes you feel more empowered to help the family.
That definitely makes sense, and I definitely agree. Now, how does your organization build trust in communities that have been historically excluded or targeted by public policy?
Yeah, there's a general distrust there and across populations, but specifically because of the undocumented status, there's just a deep fear. Fortunately, Instituto de Progreso Latino is an anchor in the community. We will be soon celebrating 50 years of service. Thank you. So someone who is anchored in the community, there was never a time that Institute doors were closed, right? Through the pandemic, we were open. We distributed food. We were a center of community for partner organizations that weren't open to distribute masks and food. So it's that kind of, you show up, we're here. And sometimes it's addressing basic needs like food, removing that obstacle, and saying, when you're ready, we're here for English. We're ready here for whatever service that you need. We can guide you. So having an open door and then an ability to address the immediate need so that they can focus more on the long-term goals. And the long-term goals are exactly what you addressed, right? Saving enough so that you can buy a home, building the family economic strength so that they could stay in the community and continue to be contributors to the economic success of our communities.
Yeah, that all does, that makes sense. Now, Instituto has long had a tradition of U.S. citizenship workshops and has hosted numerous U.S. citizenship swearing-in ceremonies. Is Instituto still offering these workshops, or has the current climate of the federal administration impacted this work?
The current climate has impacted in the way that the funding for these essential programs has been reduced from USCIS, but that's not going to stop us. It, in fact, reminds us that we must triple down on this obligation, and our citizenship workshops continue in full force. We have deep partners, and thank you, ICER, for stepping in for some gap funding in that area. More than ever, we have to ensure that we are all part of democracy, and that means you're becoming citizens, you're civically engaged in elections, and that we're registering our young people as soon as they're able to. Right, when you get your driver's license, you can register to vote. But it is an acknowledgement that nothing will stop us, and we will find a way to continue these really important programs.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's wonderful. And now that I've asked you about the swearing-in ceremony, I think of my own father. He became a U.S. citizen back in the 90s. I don't exactly remember the exact year, but I do remember attending his swearing-in ceremony. And having grown up here in the States, of course I knew the Pledge of Allegiance. I had to say it every single day at school. Him, however, it took him a while to memorize it, and me and my brothers would be like, "Dad, how come it's taking you forever to remember it? It's so easy. It's I Pledge Allegiance," and well, you know how it goes.
But wasn't that the most proudest moment?
Absolutely.
Oh, I remember when my parents were sworn in, and just the pride, the deep pride, because it was not easy. It's not an easy process, and it's an expensive process. So for Instituto to offer those services at no charge, it removes huge barriers. Now you just got to study for it, right? I'm sure you remember. I remember my mom walking around with her Walkman going, North Carolina, South Carolina, because you have to memorize this, right? So yes, that was a proud moment for me as a daughter, proud moment for me when I became a naturalized citizen. My dad said his proudest moment was when I was sworn in as an attorney. So it's these moments of pride that move you towards this awesome duty that we have an obligation to vote and to be civically engaged.
Absolutely. And, at least fortunately, my father, he's bilingual. He's originally from Colombia, was born and raised there, and he's been bilingual. I'm not sure when he actually became really fluent or confident to the same efficacy as today, but fortunately at the time when he was studying, he knew English well enough to excel in the exam. But
what a beautiful home to be raised in a bilingual atmosphere,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, and unfortunately there are those who want to acquire U.S. citizenship and still have that barrier, the language barrier. So we thank you for what your organization does. My next question, can you briefly share a success story of an Instituto graduate or of a family that benefited from the organization services? Now that you mention it, we're on this topic.
Many services and so many. I can, since we're on the topic of citizenship, many of our students come back, and we have one in particular who's leading the citizenship classes.
Nice.
We have a individual who went through the work permit process in our immigration department and now leads our computer digital literacy programs. Like, we're talking not just basic intermediate, but advanced technical skills so that our community, and in Spanish, right, so that they are able to address the language barrier. So many stories from our high school students graduating as CNAs and then going into our College of Nursing graduating, passing the NCLEX, and now RNs. Like that whole evolution is evident in the work that we do. And when you think about health equity and the bilingual quality that we just spoke with, you grew up in, our students have that. And they're such assets to society to be bilingual, bicultural nurses. And we're so proud to be able to be part of the engine that's making that happen.
As you should be. Now, my last question to you, and I ask this same question to every single guest on our podcast. In your opinion, what can our listeners do in their everyday lives to combat hate and discrimination?
We must own kindness. We must revert to civility. We must be able to get to know our neighbors in a way that technology perhaps has prevented us from doing. We have to take heed of the many volunteer opportunities that are out there so that you can get to know outside of your neighbor, other neighbors, other folks with a beautiful diversity of eclectic values and different cultures that bring together what I think Chicago is most proud of, right? What the country should be most proud of. To be able to look at your neighbor in the eye and see the humanity, to see the sanctity of life, to see oneself in another, we have to return to that because only light will put out the darkness. And I think when you start to be that light for those that need it the most, sometimes it's the ones that are in a funky mood, right? Equalize that, de-escalate that. Be kind to one another because then you'll stop, you'll think, you'll reflect, and you won't ever want to hate. Because in the simplest sense, we are each other. And our humanity depends on the kindness of each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and that's an excellent answer. Now, since we're at the end of our conversation, is there anything else that you wanted to add that you didn't get to speak upon today?
Come visit our website, institutochicago.com. We have a plethora of volunteer opportunities to fill your heart with kindness. And please be sure to spread the message of being the light, being the love and the hope for others, because it's going to take each and every one of us to create a sense of belonging so that we can stop hate together. And make no mistake, I didn't mention the issue of the vandalism and hate crime that happened not too long ago in our community with the swastikas, but do know that that's not going to erase our contributions and that we're going to triple down on our solidarity and fraternity with each other. We are in it for the long run, and immigrants are essential to the love that makes and brings peace.
Yes, I once heard a quote from recording artist, "Immigrants are America's ghostwriters." That's right. Not my quote. I just want to let people know who are listening. And yeah, well, Karina, thank you very much for your time in discussing the Instituto del Progreso Latino with us. We really appreciate your wisdom, and I learned a lot today, and I hope our listeners have as well. And one thing I forgot and wanted to ask you, how can anyone contact Instituto del Progreso Latino?
Sure. We have a website. It's filled with information, www.institutochicago.com.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it may be .org now that I'm thinking about it. So folks, please forgive me, .org. Mm-hmm. But you can Google Instituto del Progreso Latino and you will have not only all our social media, which includes Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and a really active participation, especially with some of the live programming and videos that we put out on our Facebook. So I invite you to come or just come down. 2520 Southwestern. 2520 Southwestern is our main building, and I'd always be happy to welcome folks down for a tour.
Beautiful. Our phone number or email that they could reach out to?
An email address would be myself, k.ayala, A-Y-A-L-A, _Bermejo, B-E-R-M-E-J-O, @idpl.org.
Oh, well, perfect. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning into our podcast. Remember, if you or anybody you know believes that they are a victim of discrimination, please do not hesitate to contact the Chicago Commission on Human Relations at 312-744-4111. Again, that is 312-744-4111. Please follow us on our social media platforms, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we're also on Blue Sky. And until next time, remember, think before you hate. Thank you.